Number 4 is how you are sitting. Guys, this is a feminine way of sitting. Is it comfortable? Sure. Do I sit like this occasionally? Yes. Let's talk about facial features, which is the next thing that makes men look more feminine. And that is having very petite or small facial features like nose and lips.
Alpha male YouTubers have got to be some of the most pathetic content creators on this website. Grown men who think that advanced human society can be dumbed down to pack animal terms in science. It's honestly just sad to watch. And one of the worst and probably first contributors to this side of YouTube has got to be Alpha M. Now, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, in middle school I actually watched this guy, which I'm guessing is most of his fan base to this day. Young, confused kids who don't really know who they are, looking for some sort of guidance on how to be a man. I mean, if you look at what this guy uploads, it's pretty clear that no developed person over the age of 14 would actually click on this stuff. Videos like 10 things that make men look feminine, which happens to be what we're gonna be watching today. Now, this might be one of the most hypocritical and backwards videos I've ever seen, because half of the stuff he says he has either promoted in another video, and the other half just doesn't even make sense. But that's enough talking. Let's begin. Please subscribe.
You know, Alpha M, that super manly YouTuber. Said nobody ever. What's up, gentlemen? So let me get this out of the way up front. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being perceived as feminine or being a little bit more feminine as a man.
Alright, so this is one of the few guys on this side of YouTube who actually tries to avoid getting canceled, and that's what that little disclaimer was for. But I mean, you generally don't make a how-to on how not to be something if you think that something is a good thing, so, you know, it's really just an empty statement.
I am, however, saying that if you want to be perceived as more manly, then you got to stop doing the 10 things we're going over today. Starting with number 1, which is excessive filters. Literally, you look like a woman in a lot of these pictures that I'm seeing. Guys, all of these filters that these women use to make themselves look a little sassier, a little more beautiful, a little less like beat up and rough.
Yeah, you really seem like a stand-up guy there, Alpha. Oh, and I know you're gonna ask. No, he never stops yelling. This is how the entire video is gonna sound.
Make you as a dude look more feminine and literally like a woman. I have like said to my wife, I'm like, yo, check this picture out of so-and-so, right? She's like, oh my God, he looks like a woman. I'm like, I know, it's these filters. Gentlemen, say no to the overfiltration of your face. You also need to say no to number 2, which is excessive makeup.
Alright, so here's where the hypocrisy starts. 3 years ago, he made a video about men's makeup, where he said makeup is not a feminine thing, and went into like a whole defense about it. And now he's saying to avoid it if you don't want to be seen as feminine? Make up your mind, Alpha. Something you'll notice if you go through this guy's videos, it's like he treats every single video like it's an isolated situation. He's very rarely consistent throughout his videos, and it really seems like he just tries to appease to whoever he thinks might click on that specific video.
The third thing that makes men look more feminine is longer hair.
This is such a dumb idea, and a new one at that. I mean, up until about the World Wars, it was very common for men to have medium to long hair. It was the norm. I mean, super short haircuts are a relatively new thing. They really only became popular because such a large portion of the population went to war, and when you joined the army, you got a buzz cut. I mean, that's like the least alpha thing you could ever do. Getting a haircut because another man said to? That's the opposite of an alpha.
Number 4 is how you are sitting. Guys, this is a feminine way of sitting. Now, is it comfortable? Sure. Do I sit like this occasionally? Yes. But if you want to be perceived as more masculine, you need to actually spread a little bit. Man spread, right? The whole idea is to take up space. As men, when we actually sit and we are occupying more space, this is seen as a more dominant position.
This honestly might just be one of the most pathetic things I've ever heard a human say. Are you really that insecure about your masculinity, and you need yourself validated that badly? I mean, first off, nobody sees a guy taking up an entire bench and thinks, oh my God, that dude's a badass. What an alpha. No, they think you're a douchebag. Secondly, if you really were an alpha, if that was even a thing in human society, would you really need to alter everything you do down to even how you sit for people to know it? Having to follow these tips in and of itself proves that you would definitely not be an alpha in any sort of situation.
I cannot stress to you the importance of developing an incredible handshake, one that is firm, not too aggressive, but not like super soft and like wimpy. Now, a little handshake pro tip. What I'd recommend is practice, whether or not it's with your dad, your mom, your boy, your weird Uncle Barry. goodness sake. Actually, not Barry. I know where those hands have been. Oh, mama.
Imagine actually taking life advice from a 46-year-old man who recorded himself doing that.
The sixth thing that if you own and are rocking, you are definitely looking feminine, and that is big, baggy clothing or shirts. Big, baggy, oversized clothing makes you look more feminine, and the reason is pretty simple. Because it makes you look small, it makes you look more dainty.
Okay, so while I'm pretty sure that this was just an easy run-up to an advertisement, because that's really all his videos are anymore, a bunch of filler around a 3-minute sponsorship, this doesn't even make sense. Because really, from what I understand, society seems to think that tight clothes are for women. I think fitted clothes look better, so I don't think that. But I think the society you're trying to be an alpha of would. And even if we disregard all of that, like the 7th or 8th thing that he says makes you look feminine is wearing tight pants. So what is it? Are tight clothes feminine or not, Alpha?
Let's talk about facial features, which is the next thing that makes men look more feminine. And that is having very petite or small facial features like nose and lips. Men with small, petite facial features, generally speaking, will look a little bit more feminine. Also, if you've got small, little tiny hands or small, tiny little feet, this also makes you look a little bit more feminine.
Alpha, what do you suggest guys that fall into this category do? Go back into the womb and mess with the genetic code? I mean, why even include this?
Wearing too many rings also is a more feminine look, in my opinion. Wearing a ton of bracelets, a ton of chains, a ton of necklaces, basically a lot of accessories is going to make you look a little bit more feminine. Now, there are certain guys that pull it off that look amazing, but these guys are men among men, and they don't give a shit what you think.
Which, in essence, is how an actual alpha would act. They wouldn't care what other people think. They wouldn't sit around watching YouTube videos of another man telling them how to live. That quite literally defeats the entire purpose of what an alpha is supposed to represent. If you are the alpha, you are the alpha. Nobody tells you what to do. You're on top. Literally the opposite of what this YouTube channel is implying. Now, the rest of the video is pretty much just him complaining about skinny jeans, which I honestly think might just be stemming from some confusing feelings he might be having, considering that he admits that he's caught himself checking out guys from behind thinking they're women. So I think our friend Alpha here might just be having some unwanted thoughts, so he's lashing out on the skinny jean industry. Well, there you have it. A sad display of what is apparently an alpha. I would say that I don't know how this guy's amassed such a following, but that would be a lie, because I've been there. This stuff is convincing when you're 13 and want a girlfriend. He's pretty much made a career off exploiting children, so, you know, average YouTuber these days. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and walk on over to that subscribe button and touch it. It's free. It won't cost you anything. But for now, that's all I have for you today. Bye.
Subscribe.